Let's see. I'm guessing we're live because it's taking its sweet ass time, which probably means that we're live already. But you know the way these fucking computers are. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see what the phone says.
I think we're live now.
Yeah, I think so too. But for some reason my
Mine is saying live, like in the corner of mine it says we're live.
Oh really? Mine
Yeah,
is
it says live 31. We're 31 seconds in.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, we're here with myself and Mike from Mikkel Sports. And we're here to talk about week 12, which was a having trouble connecting. Oh, there we go. Yeah, 48 seconds in. What the fuck? So we've got week 12. You just heard us bantering back and forth because we didn't know we were live. It was an interesting week. Not too crazy, not too fun, to be honest. It was fun for me and Mike because our teams were. But it wasn't anything. I don't think anything really changed, in my opinion, from standpoints of teams. Maybe a little bit when it comes to Tennessee, but other than that, nothing really crazy happened. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Before we get into the actual games here, first off, we want to say thank you guys for watching. Always remember while you're watching, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on both Bigger and Better Sports and Mikkel Sports. You can find me on Twitter at Big Tuna BBS and on Instagram at Bigger and Better Sports. And Mike, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, find me on Instagram at MikeHellSports_YouTube, and then more importantly on Twitter, where I'm really active at MikeHellSports, and then obviously on YouTube as well, MikeHellSports. So.
And I am also on OnlyFans at Big Tuna's Big Balls. So, you can always check me out there too. It's a free thing. You can check it out if you want for nothing. What's that?
I said it won't be free for long though. Drawing in fans is going to be
famous in no time. No time. We're going to talk about the Raiders games when we talk about the Packers game, so it's going to be middle of the show. But before we get into it, we had Chicago beat Detroit last second, 16-14, and we had Buffalo beat the Saints 31-6. From the Chicago standpoint, Chicago wins. Andy Dalton had a decent game, but Detroit, it just seems like they're going to be 0-16-1 this year. I looked at the rest of their schedule. I don't think they have any chance of winning.
Favorable.
And the Bills and the Saints are just in tough shape when it comes to injuries, but I think the Bills realize that the mighty Patriots are right behind them now, and they showed the Saints that they are. So, any thoughts on the Thanksgiving games?
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the Bears really kind of looked rough. I know that they won, but they didn't look great in that game on Thanksgiving against the Lions. The Lions actually played pretty good in this game. DeAndre Swift obviously doing what he does. But it was just, another tough loss for the Lions. The Bills just dominated the Saints. Utter domination. So
even though Josh Allen did not have the greatest of games. He threw a couple picks. I think he fumbled the ball once as well, which is just crazy.
And they still won by a lot.
Yeah. No, it's just, that I think the team was kind of skating by, no one's going to catch us anyway. And now that the mighty Patriots are there, now it's time to oh, shit, we got to go.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Maybe you need a little fire under your ass sometimes to get going. Speaking of Sunday, first game we're looking at here is the Falcons. This game was kind of I don't want to say a toilet bowl game because Falcons are terrible. They're 5-6 now after beating up on the Jaguars 21-14. Of course, again, the Jaguars get down 10 plus points and then they come back. Again, it seems like they let teams come back and beat them, and then in the third and fourth quarter they play well. It's weird. Stats-wise, Trevor Lawrence, 238, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Robinson at 86 yards rushing with 29 receiving. Laquan Treadwell, if anyone remembers that name, he's a bust, quote unquote bust from Minnesota. He led the league and he led the team in receiving with 53 yards. He also had 8 targets, so that he's Trevor Lawrence giving him a shot for sure. Marvin Jones had 43 yards receiving. And then Tavon Austin, if you can remember that name, he had a receiving touchdown, which it was a really good one, by the way. Go back and look at it. It was really good. On the defensive side, we had sack by Robertson Harris and an interception by Campbell. For the Atlanta Falcons, you had Matt Ryan threw for 190, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Cordell Patterson continues to have a Pro Bowl type season, 108 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns and then 27 yards receiving. Russell Gage led the team in receiving with 62 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, you had sacks from Fowler and an interception from Harmon. So, stats weren't great or anything like that, but, like I said, Jacksonville got down late or early and then came back late. At least they tried.
Yeah, this game was a little bit weird. The Falcons actually, some of their playmakers showed that they are playmakers. They made some plays. Matt Ryan didn't really have the greatest of game, didn't even reach 200 yards, but didn't look necessarily bad in this game. The really only thing that you can say about these Jaguars is that they eventually did get it going late. Like you said, they get down early and then they start to kind of make these comebacks, but it was just way too little, way too late. It was a good win for Atlanta. Like you said, they're not really a team that you could say is a toilet bowl team, but they're clearly not a playoff team. But it was a good win for them. Jacksonville, man, they just got a long way to go. Honestly, somewhat of a boring game, but it got pretty good at the end once Jacksonville was starting to make their comeback. But yeah, I mean, somewhat.
It's tough because Jacksonville, and now especially with the coaching vacancies that come out in college, so everyone's going to think that Urban Meyer is going to leave for Notre Dame or for yeah. I mean, why would he not think about it? I mean, honestly, why would he not? Especially Notre Dame. But overall, I like to see Trevor Lawrence continue to spread the ball out. But I watched a good portion of this game at work, switching back and forth. The games I was switching back and forth of were the Giants game in this game. So it was really tough football to watch. But he spreads the ball out, but it just – I don't know. He just doesn't look good to me sometimes. He's going
to develop over time, kind of like what Mason says in the comment section where he'll get better over time. I think that he's going to develop and get a little bit better. We look at what Mac Jones is doing, and he's got a lot of talent around him and a great coaching cast and, a lot of support that I just don't think Trevor Lawrence has. Yeah. So him not playing up to those standards and him not playing to Herbert's standards that he set last year, I don't really blame him too much for that.
Yeah, no, I understand. Moving on, the Jets with Zach Wilson back get a victory over the lowly Texans, 21-14. Texans scored 14 points in the second quarter, and other than that, Jets played their asses off to win this game. On the Houston side, stats-wise, Tyrod Taylor threw for 168, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Their leading rusher was David Johnson with 39 yards. Their leading receiver was Brandon Cooks with 45 yards and a touchdown. And also Brevin Jordan, tight end, scored a touchdown as well. On the defensive side, they got sacks from Cougar Hall, Walker, Martin, and Grenard. And they got an interception from Thomas. For the Jets, the victory Jets, winning team, Zach Wilson threw for 146, 0 touchdowns and a pick, but he did run for a touchdown. Their leading rusher was Tevin Coleman with 67 yards. Their leading receiver was Braxton Berrios with 47 yards. Elijah Moore had 46 yards. On the defensive side, they had sacks from Quentin Williams, Blair. They had 2 from Franklin Myers and another Q Williams. Which one am I? No, Quinnen Williams, I'm sorry, got a sack, and Quincy Williams also had a sack. So Quinnen and Quincy had sacks, and Franklin Myers, he had 2 sacks and an interception. So good day for him. So, another game that, 2 bad teams playing each other, but still, sometimes those games can be great, but this was not one of them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this was a bad game between 2 really bad teams. Like you said, tons of sacks in this game. for the Jets. Their defensive line is really good. I've been saying it all season. It's got a lot of potential. And speaking of potential, I think Zach Wilson, you could see at times that he has a little bit of potential. It's noticeable, but he has a while to go. This is not a guy that I think should be starting any games this season, especially with how bad that the Jets are. Tyrod Taylor wasn't really good this game either on the Texans side, but his offensive line didn't help, like we talked about with the sacks. But this was a good, persevering win for the Jets. They could have given up a couple times in this game. They didn't look great at all through any part of this game, but they fought hard and they got the good W. This is one of those weird games between two teams that honestly could be tanking right now because, I mean, they both need a lot of help. The Jets, they've got their quarterback at least for the next 5 years. We don't know how good Zach Wilson really is going to be, but there's lots of guys that they could get on the defensive side in the draft. And not to say the team should be tanking, but these are two teams that if tanking is cool, these teams should be doing it. But overall, this was actually one of the better games, or not better games, but this game wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was just really sloppy because both of these teams, like we said, are really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Houston's going to be looking for a quarterback in free agency and/or the draft this year. I really don't know anyone. Maybe CJ. Huh?
Or Corral is the only quarterback I would draft in the first round.
You wouldn't do CJ?
CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are next year. They're not eligible this year.
Yeah, no, it's
I would wait. I would get
what about the kid from Pitt? The kid from Pitt seems pretty good.
Nah, I wouldn't take him.
Okay. Well, like I said, it sucks. Some years when it comes to quarterbacks, some years they aren't great.
Corral is the only one, and I think he's got an impressive arm. He kind of reminds me of Justin Fields a little bit. Like, yeah, he's got a good arm, but is he a good quarterback?
Yeah,
he's a solid quarterback, but
yeah, no, I hear you. What we got here in the comments? Mason says he's happy the 49ers won. We'll talk about that. Nate S says, nice win for your Raiders, Tuna. Thank you very much. Mason also says, I feel like the Patriots might go to the Super Bowl. They're doing it right now. So is Mac Jones for a rookie. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into that game. Good segue there, Mason. I appreciate that. The Texans, the beat-up Texans now with no A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones, no Derrick Henry, go into Foxborough and lose 36-13. At halftime, it was 16-13. But then the Patriots took over the second half to win. Stats-wise, Ryan Tannehill, not very good. He threw for 93 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But he also had 24 yards rushing. The funny thing is that his running backs really tried hard for him. Hilliard had 131 yards rushing on 12 carries and 1 touchdown, and Foreman had 109 yards rushing, but no touchdowns there. I don't know. I think Peterson must be a healthy scratch by now or something like that because he's not, which isn't his fault. It's just, it sucks that that's where he went, but, I'm a big Adrian Peterson fan. That's why I said it. But Westbrook Hines was their leading receiver with 25 yards. That's it. 1 touchdown, really nothing else to say here with that. On defense, Bayard had a sack, Roberson had half a sack, and that is about it. On the Patriots side, Mac Jones threw for 310 and 2 touchdowns. He started to look like Tom Brady more and more. Stevenson had 46 yards rushing. Harris had 40 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown, 12 yards receiving. Their leading receiver was Jacoby Myers with 98 yards. Kevin Bourne had 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bolden had 54 yards receiving. And their big contract receiver, Nelson Aguilar, had 3 catches for 20 yards. Just going to smile about that. He could have stayed with the Raiders. He'd probably be having a great season right now. On defense there, Bentley had a sack. Judon had another sack. He is having a great year. Judon is. On the interception side, Justin Jackson, I believe it was. No, J.C. Jackson had an interception. So, yeah, Patriots are rolling right now.
Yeah, the Patriots look really good, and the Titans look really, really bad. They simply just aren't the same team without Derrick Henry. Obviously, their running backs did play great in this game, but Ryan Tannehill needs to pick it up. Not reaching 100 yards is not acceptable. I just don't care how good that the running backs play, especially whenever you get down in games like this and you need your quarterback to come through. They just did not get it. The Patriots looking really good. Like you said, Judon is having a great year rushing the passer. J.C. Jackson is having a great year picking off a bunch of quarterbacks. And Mac Jones is proving to be very, very good. The Patriots just might find themselves in a deep playoff run. Someone said in the comment section about a Super Bowl run. That honestly doesn't seem that far from a possibility. But the Patriots, they fired on all cylinders in this game, and they've been firing on all cylinders as of late. They're dangerous. They are like number one seed in the AFC dangerous. I'm talking about a real threat. Great game for them. Tough for the Titans. It's good for the Colts, though, because the Titans are struggling. If they keep on playing these good teams and losing to them, that race might get a little bit tighter in the AFC South.
So I want to do a little bit of for Mac Jones here. Okay, a little something for him from when it comes to receiving here. So his number one receiver is supposed to be Nelson Aguilar. Okay?
Yeah.
If Nelson Aguilar is covered, he can throw to Kendrick Bourne. If Kendrick Bourne is covered, he can throw to N'Keal Harry. If N'Keal Harry's covered, he can throw it to Jacoby Meyer. If Jacoby Meyer is covered, he can throw it to Jonnu Smith. If Jonnu Smith is covered, he can throw it to Hunter Henry. Right. If all of them are covered, they can throw it to Stevenson or Harris, or when he comes back, James White.
Yeah, they've got weapons.
They've got a ton of weapons, and nobody has talked about that.
Yeah.
Everyone was like laughing because the Patriots made all these moves during the offseason. This is why, because they have so much depth now at those positions that they never had for Tom Brady. They never had this depth for Tom Brady. I'm sorry they didn't.
Yeah.
And, good for them. Good for them to be able to do that. They're if everyone's healthy, they're 4 deep at wide running back. They're 7 deep at receiving options. It's crazy. And Mac Jones is like taking it in stride, which is just incredible. Before we get to the next game, I just want to say hello to Matthew J. Evans, Nate S., and Mason in there. Matthew J. Evans did say that the Patriots are loaded. Belichick once again looking like a genius, and Mac Jones looks like Tom Brady when he plays. He's not very athletic, and it's just he's making smart decisions. I don't know his stats, but I know he hasn't thrown a ton of interceptions. That's for sure. Let's see here.
He's had some games where he's looked like a rookie for sure, but for the most part, he's looked really good this season.
So let's see. Stats-wise, he has thrown for 2,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That's not terrible for a rookie.
Right.
That's not terrible for a rookie. And if it wasn't for Jamar Chase, I would think that Mac Jones still might win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Offense, just because of what he's doing with the team. All right, next game we got here. The Eagles travel to New York on Michael Strahan retirement number day, and the Eagles looked awful all game until the fourth quarter. They lose 7-13 to the Giants. Jalen Hurts had a rough game. He had 129 yards passing with 3 interceptions. He did have 77 yards rushing. Scott had 64 yards rushing and a touchdown. Miles Sanders had 64 yards rushing. On the receiving side, their leading receiver was Gainwell and Rieger with 32 yards apiece. Not much from Devontae Smith there. On defense, they got a sack from Hargrave, and there was no interceptions thrown by Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones threw for 202 and a touchdown. Barkley ran for 40. Let's see. Yeah, Barkley ran for 40. Kenny Golladay had 50 yards receiving. Slayton had 40 yards, and Myrick had the touchdown. On the defensive side, they got a half a sack from Johnson, a half a sack from Love, and interceptions by McKinley, Crowder, and Love. So another bummer of a game, to be honest with you, but still, Giants win another one.
Yeah, no, I agree. This was an ugly, ugly game. Jalen Hurts struggled bad for the Eagles, did not have himself a great game. There's already rumors coming up that Gardner Minshew might end up starting for the Eagles this upcoming Sunday, and that Jalen Hurts isn't a lock to start. I don't know how much I believe in that. But the Giants offense overall wasn't that good either. They were just able to put up more points. A late surge from the Eagles almost got them the W, except that Giants defense was absolutely on all game, and especially late in this game. I mean, a win is a win, right? Especially if you're the Giants. And I'd love to say it was a good win for them, but hey, I mean, it was just a regular win. And, win is a win is a win is a win for the Giants. This is tough for the Eagles because this is a team that was honestly, in my mind, fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of out of that race now. So,
well, with the Cowboys losing too, I mean, that does gain. They do gain a spot if they won. And with the Redskins winning, it's just Dallas needs to step it up a little bit. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say, because all these teams are starting to win more games in the AFC, in the NFC East. So, it's going to be interesting. Next game, we got the Bengals at home destroy the Steelers 41-10. It was 31-3 at halftime. 31-3 at halftime, so not good at all. On the Pittsburgh side, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 263, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Najee Harris, their leading rusher, with 23 yards. On the receiving side, Johnson had 95 yards, Claypool had 82, Freiermuth had a touchdown. On the defensive side, we had sacks from Hayward and Wormley, and interception from Minkah Fitzpatrick. On the Bengals side, we had Joe Burrow throwing for 190, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Joe Mixon, leading rusher, with 165 and 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow also had a rushing touchdown. On the receiving side, Higgins had 114 yards and a touchdown. Chase had 39 yards. On the defensive side, you had sacks from Hill, Hendrickson, and Hubbard, and interceptions by Hilton and Eli Apple. So a little bit of a blowout here for good old for the Steelers there. They're done. I think they're done.
Well, yeah, this was a big blowout because the Bengals were on from the jump. Big Ben was just bad. I mean, he was god-awful in this game. The Bengals defense was all over him, and their offense wasn't as lethal in the second half. They were going off in the first half. They weren't as good in the second half, but obviously that's because they ran the ball a little bit more just to end it. Big, big blowout for Cincinnati. They are looking more and more lethal every single week. And they could end up winning this division. I think that the Steelers still have a chance. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to win the division because it's such a close, it's so close between literally everybody that nothing would surprise me. This division will probably end up having the worst wild card team, and their division winner obviously would be in there. I can see the Bengals making the playoffs. The Steelers, they're going to have to make a real push, and I don't think that Big Ben is gonna play next year. I don't think he should.
And
he's so bad. He is so bad.
Yeah, but they're in a position too that they've got nobody behind them. I mean, I know Mason Rudolph's there, but
we talk about CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. I mean, those guys are eligible next year. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe you finish this year with Big Ben. Obviously, next year you try the Haskins or Rudolph thing, whichever quarterback you want to roll with. And if that fails and you have a bad record, then maybe you draft the future in Stroud or Bryce Young.
You mentioned Haskins, and I hate to say it, but I would groom him to be, because he was in Washington. Okay, he's in Washington, and yeah, Tyler Heineke's doing a good job with what they have, but
Right.
he just didn't get it in Washington. He
Yeah.
might get it in Pittsburgh because he was a first-round talent. He
Look at
was.
what the Saints did last year when Drew Brees got hurt. They brought in Jameis Winston to learn from Drew Brees and be the backup. But when Drew Brees went down, like Big Ben, whenever he was down and they put in Mason Rudolph instead of putting in Haskins, the next year Jameis Winston became the guy and did pretty good. So maybe that's what they're planning for right now is, hey, Haskins isn't really the backup. He's just learning. And maybe next year will be his time.
Maybe. Yeah, it's
The
going to be
guy's
interesting to see.
The guy's talented. He just needs to learn. And maybe that's what he's doing right now is learning.
I don't know if Big Ben wants to go out like this. Like, this not good.
I don't think he has any other option. I don't think there's any glory for him anywhere.
I think he's just beat up and just tired. That's what it seems like. But who knows?
You know what's most unfortunate is I've got younger siblings who watch football. They're not going to know Big Ben like I know Big Ben. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, regardless of what anyone thinks of Big Ben as a person, guy is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He basically carried the Steelers through some of those years, which is really unfortunate. I wish he would have retired years ago so that whenever people remember Big Ben, they don't remember what he is now. They remember Big Ben as a football player, as a legend. I'm going to remember him as a legend. I don't know if many people younger than me are.
You win 2 Super Bowls for your organization. You've been with the same organization your whole career. You're a legend, especially within that group, especially within that team. So, hopefully he goes out the right way, and I think he will. Or he could be an ageless wonder like the guy we're about to talk about. The Bucs go into Indianapolis, and they were down 24-14 at halftime, came roaring back late and held the Colts to 7 points in the second half to win 38-31. Indianapolis Colts, they really didn't have a bad game. They just had a bad second half. Carson Wentz threw for 306, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor had 83 yards and a touchdown. Jack Doyle had 81 and a touchdown. Doolin had 62 yards and a touchdown. And T.Y. Hilton had 28 yards and a touchdown. Michael Pittman had 53 yards receiving. On the defensive side for the Colts, Buckner had a sack. Paye had a sack. Rodgers had an interception. And it looks like that's it. On the Bucs side, there's a lot to say here. There's a lot of stats here. Tom Brady threw for 226, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Leonard Fournette ran for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 7 catches, 31 yards, and another touchdown. Ronald Jones had 37 yards and a touchdown. On the receiving side, Ron Gronkowski had a vintage game with 7 catches for 123 yards. Nobody else really did anything good on there. On the defensive side, Shaq Barrett had 2 sacks. Ndamukong Suh had 1. And Antoine Winfield and Desir had the interceptions. But, yeah, they came back just barely, but they came back to beat,
Yeah, no, this was a good game. And the Colts actually had the Bucs on the ropes for a little while. But things that the great teams do, like the Buccaneers, is they make comebacks like this. They're able to have things like this. Indianapolis is obviously a really good team. There is no doubting that. We've seen them all year. They've played really good against good teams, but they've had a really tough schedule, and they're obviously good, but they needed to close this game out and win this one because, like I said, the Titans are struggling. This is a great opportunity for the Colts to be getting wins, and whenever you're up at home on teams like the Buccaneers that are really good, if you can win a game like that, you can prove to the league that you are for real. But they weren't able to close it out. One thing that we have learned about the Bucs, though, from this past week is obviously they are dangerous. We know how good that they are. They've got a lot of talent. But the way that the Colts got up on them in this game, they are obviously very beatable too. Overall, this was a great game. It was a fun game to watch. Carson Wentz had a pretty good game, and obviously Tom Brady leading the comeback was great as well. Leonard Fournette balled out too. Kind of excited to see that. But yeah, overall, pretty good game.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with Leonard Fournette, especially because I had just watched a video before I went to work on Sunday about how Leonard Fournette was a quote unquote bust.
Right.
But I don't really think he is anymore. But he was in Jacksonville. He had some issues. But in Tampa Bay's kind of resurge his career, which is good for him. All right, let's get into the Raiders at the Cowboys before we get into the Packers game. Listen,
did we do Panthers Dolphins yet, or is that afternoon?
Oh no, you're right. Good call. All right, hold on. Here we go. All right.
Because I was like, wait, timeout.
So we had the Dolphins beat the Panthers at home 33-10. Did not see that one coming. Carolina with Cam Newton. He did not have the greatest of games after a decent game. He was 5 for 21 and 92 yards, 2 interceptions. He also ran for a touchdown. PJ Walker had the same amount of completions, 5, but he was for 10. 87 yards.
10 passes over the whole course of the game?
For PJ Walker? He was the backup.
10 completely. Cam Newton and PJ Walker combined.
10 completions, yes. Yeah.
I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, not good at all. Christian McCaffrey had 35 yards rushing, and he is out for the season. I don't want to talk about him because he's an injury-prone person. DK Moore there had one receiver had 103 yards receiving, which is incredible on only 5. Yeah, it's crazy. On the defensive side, Burns had a sack. Hoskins had a sack. No interceptions, which is surprising for Tua. But Tua threw for 230, 1 touchdown. Gaskin ran for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. Waddle had 9 catches, 137 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, Phillips had 3 sacks. Wilkins had 1 sack. Agba had a sack. And then Needham had an interception. Xavier Howard had an interception, and so did Holland. So
Javon Holland, Oregon Duck.
Yeah.
This was a weird game because the Dolphins actually in the beginning of this one, they didn't look great. They had a bunch of they had a weirdly bad amount of bad snaps in this game. I don't know if you were able to catch that, but there was a lot of bad snaps.
No, I didn't see that.
But Tua himself actually had a pretty good game, one of the best games he's had in his career, which is kind of weird to say because he only threw 1 touchdown. Cam Newton, like you said, not so much of a great game. The Dolphins getting better and better and better. Not too long ago, they beat the Ravens. This week, they beat the Panthers at home. The Panthers, man, they can't afford to lose many more games. Last week and the week before, whenever they were I guess last week they did lose to Washington, but Cam had a pretty good game the week before they were winning. And hey, a lot of people were thinking this team might be back in the playoff race. I don't think so anymore. Miami's defense and special teams made a huge difference in this game. Good win for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's something where I don't think it's the coaching, Carolina. I think it's just injuries, yeah. And and with Miami, I'm never going to be a believer of Tua, but if the guy's winning, you can't say nothing to him. But he's not
I think Tua's got a long way to go. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I also don't know if we think he's a franchise quarterback yet either. But I
will say this: every Dolphins fan I talk to hate him.
Really?
Yeah, every Dolphins fan I talk to.
The only Dolphins fan I have talked to says he just doesn't really know. He doesn't know if he believes in him. He doesn't know. He doesn't not like him. He just doesn't know if he's the guy.
A lot of the Dolphins fans that I talk to want Watson.
Oh, yeah, I'd rather have Watson. But.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Raiders game before we talk about the Packers game because the Raiders game was obviously Thursday. Not much more to say about it except for there was a ton of penalties called. Unfortunately, one of those penalties kind of decided the game. I mean, the penalty didn't kick the field goal to win it, but it was a tough, tough penalty to call, but they have thrown so many flags that it's like,
if they wouldn't have called that one, all the other ones would have been like, really?
yeah, and that's the thing. But from my standpoint as a fan, I hope that Darren Waller isn't out too long. Jacobs looked good. Deshaun Jackson looked good. The defense bent, but it didn't break. But I will say this, Raider Nation, if they had CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper in there, it'd be a totally different story. Because, Dak had a tough time reaching other players. Yeah. And, but once again, they get a W out of this one, but how many leads are the Raiders going to give up in the last couple minutes?
Yeah.
Just like last season. I think this was the second or third game that they've given up the lead in the last 2 minutes or something like that. So it's just not good. It's not good. But then again, we're 6-5. The Chargers lost, which was surprising. The Chiefs did win, but
I think Chiefs were on bye this week.
The Chiefs were on bye, so in a way, it was like,
Well,
maybe
it was a great game, like you said. Dak Prescott. I mean, he had pretty good numbers. But he looked overall just off in this game. Derek Carr, we saw him step up and actually play really, really good whenever he needed to. He made the plays. Like you said, Vegas could have put this one away earlier. Dallas kept on fighting, and then the Raiders kind of gave up some points late in this one. Dallas struggled without their two receivers, like you said, and that's a big reason that they lost this game. And obviously the calls were, pretty questionable. I'm not going to say that the Cowboys were screwed over or that, if less penalties were called, they would have won, but there were definitely some suspicious ones for sure. The absolute best part of this game was backup quarterback Marcus Mariota scoring a touchdown.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm so happy about that. I mean, I was with Cowboys fans watching this game, so I had to stay pretty neutral. But when Mariota got in there, I was screaming. I was like, "Let's go, Marcus!" Like I was excited to see him score.
Yeah, it was good to see him do that. We'll see what happens with him, because I got a feeling if the Raiders don't get close to the playoffs, they might let Carr go and keep Mariota.
Did you see Derek Carr's press conference where he said he was saying something about whenever he would get a long run, he would like look at Marcus and like he would call himself Cariota. I thought that was funny. I had no idea. I tweeted Cariota a couple of times. I thought that was funny. And then
that's pretty cool.
It was great seeing Derek Carr, because I mean, I don't not like Derek Carr. I mean, he starts over my favorite player, so it's like I kind of want him to do bad so that Marcus can play. But whenever he like threw the Shaka sign after Marcus scored that touchdown, I was like, you know what? I like Derek Carr now. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting end of the season for the for the Raiders, because they are 6-5. They rebounded from a couple bad wins or bad losses, and now they've got the Washington football team this week, and they're no slouches. I mean, but we'll see what happens. Next, we've got the Packers at home winning 36-28 in a great game, which I knew the Packers were going to win. On the Rams side, Matthew Stafford threw for 302, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Henderson ran for 55 yards. He also caught for 18 and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp had 7 catches for 96 yards. Jefferson had 93 yards and a touchdown. Odell Beckham had 81 yards and a touchdown. And like I said, Henderson had a touchdown. On the defensive side, Gaines had a sack, and the mighty Aaron Rodgers did not throw an interception. Aaron Rodgers threw for 302 and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for a touchdown as well. Dillon had 69 yards rushing. Jones only had 23 on 10 carries, but but A.J. Dillon also had a receiving touchdown. On the receiving side, Devontae Adams had 104 yards receiving. Randall Cobb had 95 yards and a touchdown. Valdez-Scantling had 50 yards receiving. On the defensive side, you got sacks from Clark and Gary. It was good to see Gary back. And interception from Douglas. So good game here. A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, this was a great, great outing for the Packers. And I know that the Rams haven't looked very good in the past few weeks, but this is obviously a very talented football team. So it was good to see the Packers get a good win. Rodgers obviously bought out, and the defense was clutch in this game. I mean, the score obviously is a lot closer than I feel like the game really was. They had two really big plays that shouldn't have happened. I feel like our defense honestly dominated this game, even though we gave up 28 points. We really should have won 36-14 in this one. They got, like I said, those few big plays. And then we kind of, gave up sort of at the end. But the defense was great for Green Bay. Overall, we dominated this game. I feel like we're the best team in football. And I think it's close because I think the Bucs are obviously really good too. The Cardinals, we still have to see them with Murray. It's been a while since we've seen them with Murray. The Patriots are probably the best team in the AFC. The AFC just kind of looks a little weak to me right now. But the Packers, they just flex their muscles, and the Rams are in danger because they're probably going to end up with a wild card spot. But depending on, how good that they do, that seeding is going to be really important because if they have to travel to Lambeau again, they won't see the first round. They won't make it past the first round. If we end up the 2 seed and they end up the 7 seed and we have to play each other, just go ahead and consider that a bye week for us.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, that's why I thought the Packers were going to win anyway. An LA team coming over to Lambeau, it's going to be cold. It's just, just like when the Raiders traveled.
A little bit of rain, a little bit of, whatever. I was like, yeah, it's over. It was over.
Yeah, it's just that's what I thought too. But I guess I was the only one on my side that had any faith in it. But then again, I'm a gambling man, and that's who I picked. And I was right. What are you gonna do? Next game we got here, but before I get into it, I just want to say, the Packers are probably the best team in the NFC right now. The Bucs are right there, but I'm not a full believer on there because they threw out a couple duds, but the Packers haven't thrown a dud against a bad team yet. The only teams they've lost to has been a decent Chiefs team.
Yeah, without Rodgers, the Chiefs without Rodgers, the Vikings last week, and then we don't even count week 1. Week 1 doesn't count.
Week 1 was just a fluke. So, we'll see what happens. But
my team. I'm just confident. I'm not trying to curse us. I'm very confident.
Yeah, no, man, you got to be confident in the team you love, Next, we've got Mr. Mason's 49ers winning at home against the Vikings. It was even Stevens at halftime, and then the 49ers end up outscoring the Vikings 20-12 in the third quarter, and then no one scored in the fourth quarter, which is just odd, but it happened. The Vikings on the losing side, Kirk Cousins throws for 238, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Dalvin Cook had 39 yards and 64 yards receiving. Madsen had a rushing touchdown. You had Jefferson with 83 yards receiving. Dalvin Cook, 64. Adam Thielen, 62 with 2 touchdowns. On the defensive side, Wonham had a sack. Watts had a sack. Harrison Smith had an interception. On the San Francisco side, Jimmy G threw for 230, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mitchell had 133 yards and a touchdown rushing. Deebo Samuel had 66 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, 1 catch for 12 yards. Ayuk was the leading receiver with 91 yards receiving. On the defensive side for the Niners, there was Nick Bosa had a sack, and Al Shahir had the interception. But high-scoring game, but like I said, in the second half, the 49ers will be able to overtake the Giants, or not, the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing in this game is Deebo Samuel can do it all. Obviously, he didn't have a great game receiving. He only had 1 catch for 12 yards, but he ran the ball good. Overall, the entire 49ers run game.
But now he's out for a while.
Oh, he is? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he's supposed to be out for a couple weeks.
Well, Jimmy G doing what he had to do to win this game. It honestly came down to, if you watch the end of this game, Kirk Cousins could not make the clutch throws whenever he needed to. At the end of this game, Kirk Cousins overall did not look good. He didn't make the throws that he had to. And that's kind of what this thing came down to. I don't know if you saw, but he kind of lined up under the guard instead of the center. I thought that was kind of funny, but hey, he beat us last week, so I can't talk too much trash about him. But this was a really great game. It was a fun game to watch, and it was important for the wild card chase. These are two teams that are chasing probably the last two wild card spots. I think that the Rams probably are going to end up getting one, and then these teams could be competing for the last one. So really important game. Good win for the 49ers at home. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, it was a good game by Deebo Samuel, Jimmy G, and Mitchell. Mitchell's turned out into a really, really good.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college, I knew that guy was really good, and I never said anything on YouTube about it, but I always thought to myself, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy would end up being really, really good. So
yeah. Well, Mason says Deebo is the number one receiver in the league right now.
Oh, come on, Devontae Adams.
Top I would say Devontae Adams, but Deebo Samuel's in top 5. I'm not going to lie. Deebo Samuel is definitely in the top 5, especially because he's running the ball the way he is.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. If the Niners make the playoffs, they might make a run to the playoffs. Matthew Evans says, "Listen, if they can run the ball like that, then yeah." I mean, it's crazy to think, but yeah, they can do a lot there. You know, yeah, Mason is definitely. Well, Matthew J. Evans says Adams is number 1. Deebo is number 2.
D-Hop is 2, even though he's hurt. He's 2.
Well, based on stats, Cooper Kupp's number 1.
Well, this year, Devontae Adams is 1. Cooper Kupp is 2. Devontae Adams, even though he's been hurt, is probably number 3. Or not Devontae Adams. DeAndre Hopkins, even though he's been hurt, is number 3 still. And then Deebo's up there. But
he's definitely in the top 5, and that's not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all. Moving on to the AFC West, the Broncos beat the Chargers 28-13. I think that Justin Herbert just has a tough time against the Broncos. That's just my opinion. Justin Herbert threw for 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He was also the leading rusher with 36 yards. Keenan Allen had 7 catches for 85 yards. Austin Eckler had 68 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams, who has just been disappointing, in my opinion, this last part of the season, 39 yards receiving, and Jared Cook had a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side, both Bosa's had sacks in the same week. Bosa had a sack, and Derwin James had an interception. For the Denver Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater did not play that much, but when he did, he threw for 129 and a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown as well. Melvin Gordon had 83 yards rushing. Williams had a rushing touchdown and 57 yards receiving. He was their leading receiver. Cortland Sutton, off that huge extension he got, had 2 catches for 17 yards. Not very good. Not very good. On the defensive side for the Broncos, Weatherly had a sack. Williams had half a sack. Agam had a sack. And Patrick Surtain II had 2 picks off old Justin Herbert. Poor Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert really just didn't have it this game. This was a low-scoring defensive game. The fourth quarter had the dagger pick 6 from the Broncos and then a Los Angeles Chargers garbage time touchdown. It was really, it was honestly 21-17 or 21-7 until obviously the pick 6 and then the garbage time touchdown. Like I said, Herbert overall he just didn't have it. He did throw other than the pick 6, until the pick 6, he actually was having a pretty good game, opportunity to win it. Or at least get back into it. And then the pick 6 obviously hurt him a lot. Denver's defense put the heat on him all day. And that Broncos win, I know I talk about the playoffs all the time, and we still have a little bit to go, but that Denver win makes the playoffs really, really interesting, or at least makes the playoff race at least a little bit more interesting. And honestly, the entire AFC West is open for grabs now. So,
yeah, no, I'm not Yeah. I mean, with Denver winning makes second place in the AFC West, like you said, wide open. They're all together within one game of each other.
Well, and even first place, the Chiefs right now, I mean, they were on fire, but they've had the bye week, so who knows?
Who knows? I just think that these division games are crucial for every single team in the AFC West.
Not only are you hurting yourself, but you're helping someone that you're literally in direct competition with every season, even whenever you're not playing with them.
Yeah. Speaking of division rivals, the Ravens at home beat the Browns 16-10 in a weird statistical game, especially for the winning team. But Baker Mayfield threw for 247 and a touchdown. Leading rusher for the game was Kareem Hunt with 20 yards. Leading receiver was Mr. Landry with 111 receiving yards, and Njoku had 35 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, we had sacks from, surprise, surprise, Myles Garrett, and you had a sack from Elliott. You also had interceptions from Harrison, Johnson, Delpit, and Ward. That's right. Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions and still won the game. Lamar Jackson threw for 165 yards, threw for 1 touchdown, threw for 4 interceptions, also had 68 yards rushing. He was their leading rusher. Devontae Freeman was second with 52 yards. Mark Andrews had 65 yards and a touchdown. And Hollywood Brown, had 8 catches for 51 yards. On the defensive side, you had sacks from Bowser and Owe. And then there was no interceptions thrown. So a weird fucking game. I'm not going to lie. Weird game statistically, but the Ravens win.
Yeah, this was kind of a weird game, like you said, and an ugly first half for both offenses and the quarterbacks. And whenever we talk about how many flags were thrown in that Raiders-Cowboys game, it felt like there was a lot of flags in this game as well. The Browns, like you said, they need to run the ball more. Kareem Hunt only had how many yards? 27? You said he needs to be running the ball a lot more. Obviously, with Chubb being out, it's hard to get that package going because that's really what they are. They have a running back committee. But Lamar Jackson, he struggled in this game, but the defenses were absolutely incredible. I think that the Ravens defense is one of the most underrated in the league. The Browns, obviously, we know they have a good defense. You can't fault the quarterbacks too much for how bad that they played. Obviously, those picks are terrible, and a couple of those picks really were dumb throws. But overall, this game came down to really good defenses from both squads and struggling offenses. And obviously, Justin Tucker made clutch kick on clutch kick on clutch kick to give the Ravens the win. A lot of people are dragging Baker, but, man, these defenses are really good. So,
well, the other thing, too, is that Big Tuna won his parlay off of that late kick because I had the Packers getting 2.5, and then the Ravens had to win by 4, and it was 10-3 until that last kick with like a minute to go, and I was like, whoo, that would have been bad. I would have been so mad if that's how I lost. But you can't blame Baker Mayfield for this. I'm sorry, you can't,
right?
Because the bread and butter of the Browns is to run the ball.
Right. And a lot of people say they should draft a quarterback. You mean to tell me there's a rookie quarterback out there who can do better than what Baker Mayfield's doing? I mean, Baker Mayfield's handed the ball off. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's just I see him staying in Cleveland for at least one more year to show him what he's got, but we'll see what happens. I mean, just the Ravens. The one thing about the Browns is that they got over that hump in beating the Steelers. Now they got to get over that hump in beating the Ravens, and that's the thing. They can beat the Bengals. They can beat the Steelers. They haven't been able to beat with Baker Mayfield. They haven't been able to beat the Ravens. So we'll see what happens. But, and then finally, last game of the night for us was a boring game to watch. Washington wins at home 17-15. Seattle is just not Seattle this year. I hate to say it, but they are not going to make the playoffs this year, and that's just weird to have them out of the playoffs. But Russell Wilson threw for 247 and 2 touchdowns, and it didn't even look like that when he was playing. It looked like he was just off all night, and he still threw for almost 250 and 2 touchdowns. The problem is they ran the ball 13 times and 12 times, I'm sorry, and 7 of that was Russell Wilson. Yeah. So they ran I'm sorry. Collins ran the ball 7 times for 14 yards. Not good. Tyler Lockett had 96 yards receiving. Everett had 37 yards and a touchdown. Swain had 32 and a touchdown. Metcalf only had 1 catch for 13 yards. You're not going to win doing that. On the defensive side, Wagner had 17 tackles. Taylor had a sack, and Jamal Adams had an interception. On the winning side, Tyler Heineke had 223, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Gibson had a great game with 111 yards, a career high. He also had 35 yards receiving. Scary Terry McLaurin had 4 catches for 51 yards. On the defensive side, you had sacks from Curl, Tooney, and no interceptions thrown. So, yeah, boring-ass game, the way it ended and all that. It was just it was funny because they ran the ball, or they ran the clock down to 2 minutes. They get down there, they throw to Logan Thomas. It looks like a catch, but then it's not. And Seattle takes them like no time to go down there and score. And before that, they couldn't even move the ball. They didn't have a first down.
That last drive, they were incredible.
They were incredible.
Yeah. But I mean, this was really boring until that last drive, and you're starting to see like, wow, like what is even happening? But I mean, Heineke was on, and he's been playing much better lately. The Hawks offense is just struggling so bad, and I wrote down that their season is probably over. I'm gonna go ahead and mark the probably out because their season's over. I mean, they are not making the playoffs. They are not a good football team right now. Washington football team, with the Cowboys losing and not looking great, they're making a playoff push, maybe even a division push. And that defense is actually starting to step up a little bit too. Like you said, man, just a boring football game.
Listen, Washington's got a tough game next week against the Raiders, and that is a tough game.
Where do you?
I think it's in Vegas.
Yeah, so they got to travel too. So
and if they can't move the ball against the Raiders will score against them.
Yeah, because I think the Raiders have weapons on offense, and they'll be able to.
So it's listen, that's going to be a fun game. But them being at 5-6, that should really light a fire under Dallas's ass.
Yeah, I don't think that Washington's done yet, especially.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because Dallas, just like Buffalo fans, thought they had this Division I before the season even started. And now I thought Dallas and Buffalo were going to have the Division I by Thanksgiving.
Right.
And boy, was I wrong. Now they might not be able to win it until the last week of the season. And you know what? They deserve it because they haven't played well.
I think the only team that really has their division locked up is the Bucs and the Packers. Those are the only teams that really have their division locked up because we're in a terrible division, and the Bucs are too. I mean, who are they?
They're in a terrible division. How the hell did you lose to the Vikings?
Those divisional games can go either way. They're terrible.
They can. You're right. You know, it's something
wide open. We're done. We won our division. Now we're with the number 1 seed.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you guys got a hell of a chance, especially because the Bucs, they might be doing the same shit Tom Brady does every year. They're not that good, but then the playoffs, it's like crank it up.
Yeah,
and that's the stuff that annoys
me. Let's destroy everyone's dreams.
Yeah.
Last year killed me. Last year was so rough. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah. Well, that's life, I guess. But no, the Packers will definitely be there in the end, meaning either the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl again.
Hoisting the flag, please. Oh God, I would do anything, please.
The thing is that I'm more interested in after the season.
Really?
See what happens with Adams and Rodgers.
I really legitimately. If we win the Super Bowl this year, We can get rid of Adams. We can get rid of Rodgers. We could start new. I mean, I would obviously like not to. I would rather them not. But if they did, I don't think it would affect me. I would be like, you know what? We won the Super Bowl. It was great. Now we have to restart. That's fine by me.
Yeah, no, I mean that's something that, like I said, it's going to be interesting because everyone talks about Peyton Manning, like not getting to the big one. Like, let's say that about Rodgers now too. How many times has he been to the NFC Championship game? At least 5.
5. Yeah, he's got 5. He won the first time he went, and then he lost to the Seahawks, and then he lost to the Falcons, and then he lost to the 49ers last year against the
Bucs.
Dang,
So he's 1 for 5.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
He's been there. He's been there a lot.
Been there a lot. So is Peyton Manning. They talked a lot of shit about Peyton Manning when it came to that. So, but Rodgers isn't helping himself. He's just looked so disinterested.
Yeah.
And so pissed off at times where it's like, dude, if you're having the what's that? Tina, what does it say? If you make the Final Four, you had a good year. No, you're right, but ask Eagles fans that when they had Donovan McNabb.
Right. And they were pretty much in the NFC Championship or in the playoffs.
4 years in a row.
They got one Super Bowl appearance out of him when T.O. had a broken leg.
Yeah, T.O. had the broken leg, and Donovan McNabb was puking all over the place. Same old shit. But, I mean, as a Raiders fan, I'd kill to be in the Final Four. But then again, if they lost in the AFC Championship game,
it hurt so much.
I would think that would hurt more than just being out of the playoffs, And I hate to say it like that, but it's true, But
it's more fun though. Sometimes it is about the journey. Like people say, like, "What? Oh, my team at least didn't get heartbroken." Yeah, but sometimes it's about the journey. You know,
it is. No, it is. And the thing is that I watch my buddies and that. At least you were there. Yeah, at least you were there. But like, I couldn't enjoy the games like I do now.
Yeah,
if the Raiders were in it, I'd have to sit at home and watch it. I can't watch with somebody else.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like this year, I kind of. Well, whenever we got beat by the 49ers, like a lot of my friends were with me, and it was like everyone's looking at you, and you're just like this the whole game. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna watch Packers games like at my dad's house, but like by myself. So
yeah, no, I mean that's the best way to do it because like you don't like, especially if you make it in the Super Bowl, it's like you're not gonna want to talk to anybody,
right? Yeah,
fucking
you're gonna be emotional regardless. You're gonna be yelling, like you're not gonna be around. It's like
no, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And I didn't do it. When the Raiders made the Super Bowl in 2002, I was not by myself.
Right.
I was with somebody else, and she made it horrible.
Right.
So it was not – I would have to be by myself. Now, I take that back in one way. If it was me and Jen watch the Super Bowl, like she's awesome to watch football with. But, and it's just something that, I just think that overall you got to have the right people around you because you can't have those people that bust your balls because sooner or later you're going to want to fucking attack them.
Right.
And it's just, because it's like, listen, my team's winning, get off my back. My team's losing, get off my back. What did I say? And then there's a lawsuit.
Right.
So I don't know. But all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Next week, we've got another 4 teams out of it in bye weeks, but
we're on bye. So
yeah, we're on bye. Yep.
Green Bay is anyway.
The Green Bay's on bye. The Raiders have the Washington football team. Couple more things in the comments. Carla says, hi, Jen. Matthew J. Evans says, we love you, Jen. And Matthew J. Evans says, we love you, Big Tuna and Mike. Well, we love you too, buddy. They almost lost the Blues decades ago. What the hell are you talking?
They've been talking hockey in there for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, he's a Caps fan. Nate is a Caps fan.
Oh, Cap.
He can literally lick my asshole with that. Even though the Caps are playing some good hockey this year already.
We're going to win it all this year. Ovi's on a turf. He's going off.
No, they're not. they'll blow it up just like they always do. They had that one year when it was rigged.
We didn't blow it up in 2018. That's all I'm saying.
We had 1 year when it was rigged. It was
Yeah.
rigged.
Whatever.
But hope you have a good week. Oh, you didn't say anything mean. Okay. Go Caps, eat a dick. Yeah, the Penguins are bad this year. And they just sold their team.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Mario Lemieux, the ultimate Penguin, sold the team. Sold the team. No good. No, the Boston Red Sox owners.
Will Ovi pass Gretzky for most goals of all time? Nah.
Oh my God, yeah, he will.
Yes, no.
I think so.
I don't think he plays enough to do it.
He's pretty close right now.
He's still like 100 plus away, like a couple. Like I think
he'll score another 40 this year. He's got to do it in 4 seasons.
He got like 4 more. Ooh, yeah, he probably will.
Yeah, he'll do it. He won't pass him for everything. He won't pass him for most points of all time, but he'll get the goals.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Speak of Ovi in this house. Why not? Next week, I'm wearing my Ovi jersey on live.
Go ahead. Don't care. But yeah, guys. So thank you for watching. Next week should be fun as well. We won't be talking about the Packers, but hopefully we're talking about a Raiders W. Playoff picture should be looking a little bit more out there, but it's going to be just a jumble until we get to the last couple weeks. But like we always said in the beginning, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe to our channels, Bigger and Better Sports, as well as Mikkel Sports. You can find me, Big Tuna, on Twitter at Big Tuna BBS, as well as Instagram at Bigger and Better Sports. And Mike, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, find me on Twitter at Mikkel Sports, and then on Instagram at Mikkel Sports, or for YouTube, and then my YouTube is just Mikkel Sports. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Streaming every single day, and I take calls live. So I had one today for about 20 minutes. Talked live for about 20 minutes. It made the live really long, which was good. So I accept calls, and you can ask sports questions that you want answered. If you want to talk sports, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. So yeah, make sure to call. So
yeah, there you go. And once again, thank you to Nate S., Matthew J. Evans, Carla. I don't know who this Jennifer Yakabuchi is.
Is that how you pronounce that? I've always wondered.
My last name?
Yeah.
Yakabuchi. Who else did we have? We had Mason in here. We had Vic Balker. We had a couple other guys, but yeah, thank you guys. What's the number again? What's the number for your thing? Watch his live stream.
Yeah, you got to watch the live and then call when I am live. Don't call me when I'm not live, because someone actually did. They called me and they're like, "I want to be on the stream," and I was like, "I'm not live right now." And I was
like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's gonna come up to the house shirtless with honey on his chest.
Weird.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you guys soon.